And we are live. Welcome to Mock Girl Summer, a Women of Fantasy Football mock draft show. I'm Wendi Earley, back for another season. This week, my co host Sam has a prior commitment, so guess who we have sitting in? The Wizard of my Oz, Josh Hudson. I'm so excited. So, we are continuing our charity drafts, and this week we have Shane Barrett, who hosts Polly's Playoff, a charity tournament that raises money for Alzheimer's research and awareness. We'll be digging into that a little bit further once we get started with the draft because Shane and his wife have an amazing story to share with us. So, Josh, my friend, can you get in here, bring Shane in, and let's get this show rolling, please? Oh man, there's already chat going on. Everybody's wondering about the scoring. The show hasn't even started, Shane, and look what you got going on here.
Yeah,
So
awesome.
hi, thank you for joining us. Hi,
Yeah,
Josh.
thanks for having me.
Hey, Wendi.
Yeah, Shane, this is great. So I'm so sad that Sam couldn't be here. She'll be back next week, everybody. It's cool though. We have Josh tonight. So before
Oh,
the
and you
draft,
think I'm cooler than Sam? Come on now.
oh no, I didn't say that. I just said it's cool, like to have you here. I would never say that. Not that it's not true.
Thanks, appreciate that. See how I backed you into that one? There you go.
I can get out of it. I'll talk my way out of it, I'm sure. But before the draft starts, I want to mention to our drafters and friends in the chat that this is a non-tight end premium tiered PPR. It's a tiered PPR, so keep in mind, why drafting. Shane's going to have to explain the scoring a little bit better. The scoring studies are so important for everyone to know before the actual draft. So that's what these mocks are for, is to learn about this, right, Shane?
Yes, absolutely. I don't know. I went diabolical mode with this year's scoring.
Oh boy. Well, let's go ahead. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and start this so we can get rolling, everybody, because it's on my end here and I will probably forget. So I'm going to start the draft. Here we go.
Sounds good.
All right, Shane, enlighten me, please.
Yeah, so obviously prior to this year, Polly's Playoff has always been Superflex, tiered PPR by distance, and non-tight end premium, no third round reversal. This year, it's year 6 of Polly's Playoff. I turned 30 back in January, and as we know in the fantasy community, running backs, when they hit 30, hit a cliff. So I was like, you know what? This year, we're nuking running back scoring. So instead of your standard 10-yard or 1 point per 10 yards and 6 for rushing touchdowns, I changed it to where it's 1 point for every 15 yards for rushing, 5 points for rushing touchdowns, and you do get a bonus 0.3 PPR for running backs. I also tweaked the tiered by distance. So previously, this is still the same. 0 to 4 yards is half a point. 5 to 9 is 0.75. 10 to 19 is 1.0 PPR. 20 to 29 is 1.25. And then we go a little out of order. 30 to 39 yards, because I turned 30, is a 2.0 bonus. And then 40 plus yards actually go back down to 1.75. So those are all the changes that have happened this year. Is 30-yard receptions get boosted and running backs basically get nuked.
Well, and we also have another question that we were kind of wondering. What's up with the quarterback penalization in Polly's Playoffs? Josh wants to know, why do you hate quarterbacks so much, Shane?
It's not that I hate quarterbacks. It's I just wanted to – I've always penalized interceptions this way. So a regular interception is minus 3 points. If that ends up being a pick six, then it's an additional minus 1 point.
Okay, and I know that you have to
figure out, where did 5 points per touchdown come in?
I don't know.
That's just such an off-the-wall number. Like, I've always had an issue when people are like, oh, you only get 4 points per passing touchdown. In what world is a touchdown worth 4 points? Like a touchdown is 6 points. Like
Yeah,
so
but
now
look
you're
at all
telling
the
me
other
5?
stuff,
Like, that's
the
even
other
more
fun
weird.
stuff, though. But you know what? Shane needs to pick, but that does bring us to the question: even in a super flex, when you have that kind of scoring, is it that important? How soon are you going to draft that third quarterback?
That's a really good question. And I honestly don't know who I'm going to take here. Actually, I know exactly who I'm taking here. We're going with Jettis. So I'm going to lean on the wide receiver scoring. I think so. To answer your question, I don't hate quarterbacks, Josh, but I love wide receivers. Wide
Seems
receivers
like you do. Just saying.
is probably my favorite position to like scout when it comes to dynasty and whatnot. And so I've always kind of leaned towards boosting wide receiver scoring. But as far as like quarterbacks going, like the first year that I did Paulie's playoff was Scott Fishbowl 10, I think, because I actually ended up being in the same league as Scott. And through that conversation, we all kind of talked about like if you've got a platform, it doesn't matter how big it is, do something good with it. And so that I was like, we need to step up our game with our walked in Alzheimer's team. So I'm going to try and do a charity tournament. And we got to 120 people in our first year. It was awesome. But that year, if you remember, the scoring for Scott Fishbowl was you had to have a really accurate quarterback because it was you got points for completions, but you also got docked points for incompletions. Now, I haven't done that, but I kind of gave it my own twist with the touchdown and interceptions. I have no idea where 5 came from. I think it was honestly because in my head, like 4 is too little and 6 felt like a little too much for quarterbacks. So I put it in the middle to kind of balance it out with the other positions. And now running backs are at 5 too.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, at least you're consistent. So if I always panic if I'm not going to in a super flex, if I don't get like 2 super stud quarterbacks, I like start freaking out. But it might not be as important now, right?
I mean, it depends on who
could you put someone else? Okay.
I mean, and with the way that wide receiver scoring is, you could probably put in like if you went just super heavy on wide receiver, you could probably put a wide receiver in there.
Everything about Sam is cooler than Josh.
Sometimes I have to talk about myself in the third person.
I was going to say, I did not put that in the chat, everyone. Uh-oh. We got a -3 and WTF. I'm pretty sure I know what that stands for.
Why the face?
Oh, and
There we go.
Scott says we just don't want to admit it. Oh, 3/4. Hey, wait a minute. What do you mean for girls?
Ay. All right.
You know the show you're on, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, before it gets back to you real quick there, Shane, you did say it's year 6. So can you tell us a little bit about how Polly's playoff started and what the story with Polly is?
Yeah, so Polly was my wife's grandmother, Polly Brunson. We called her Nana. And she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. I don't remember the actual year. 2015. Thank you. My wife's sitting over behind me and talking with her sister on FaceTime. That's not distracting. But Polly was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 2015. And shortly thereafter moved in with my in-laws. And so Andrew and I were engaged in 2015 and then got married in 2017. So we kind of got a firsthand seat to how the disease progressed through her. And then eventually she passed away in 2019. And 2020 was the first year of Polly's playoff. So we've obviously been advocates since 2015 and have always participated in the walked in Alzheimer's. We have our walked in Alzheimer's team, and we tried to raise money for it previously. And then, like I mentioned earlier with Scott Fish, like if you got a platform, do something good with it. that was kind of the final inspiration of bringing Polly's Playoff to life, was to try and make a bigger impact with, I think I had like 3,000 followers on Twitter at the time. I was like, I can do something with that. Like,
Oh, heck yeah.
So that's where Polly started. And for the last 3 years, we've raised, I think, over $5,000. Actually, I think over 7,500 each of the last 3 years.
That's
So
amazing.
And Polly's Playoff has been a huge contributor to that. We've had multiple people that have been extremely generous. I won't name names, but they've donated hundreds of dollars just individually themselves. And then Polly's, when we first started it, I went with a $10 minimum just to try and kind of help us cover what our goals were for the fundraiser. But then last year I actually switched to just $1 minimum, just because I wanted to try and get more people in if I could. But also, like, the average, like, even though the minimum was 10, the average ended up being like $25 to $35. So people were donating more than 10. So it didn't really feel like the minimum was necessary. So that's just been our goal, is to try and raise money to help find a cure. And I don't know if you guys get those emails from the Alzheimer's Association, but over the last probably 2 to 3 years, we've continually gotten emails from the Alzheimer's Association talking about the FDA and drugs that they're trying to get approved. Sorry, I know I'm on the clock.
Nope, you're on the clock, yeah. But and another thing, I like the awareness part, like, because Alzheimer's, I'm sure that probably everyone here, everyone in the chat, all of our friends, our families, you've suffered through this disease from a family friend or someone in the family. It's just just the way it is. So it's a family disease. The whole family is affected, and it's so hard to understand. So the awareness part of it, to help the family members understand more about the disease, is really that's big for me, because I went through it with my grandfather, and it's bad. It's hard, and you don't understand it. So I'm so happy that you do something like that for people.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, that's been one of the biggest and most, like, I don't want to say rewarding, that didn't feel like the right word, but one of the best parts is, like, seeing how much of the community has been impacted, and, I guess thankful that we started doing this. Because I think it was last year or the year before, we kind of, I added in questions about, like, the disease and, like, how it had affected your family and things like that. And over 50% of the field had been affected by Alzheimer's in some way. And that was 200 people in the fantasy football community. So if you extrapolate that out just to the whole fantasy football community, that's a ton of people. And then if you extrapolate that out to the world, like, raising the awareness is the biggest thing, because it is when we started, it was the only killer in the top 10 of diseases that didn't have a cure or anything to slow it down. Oh, I'm loving this draft so far for myself.
Oh, look at that. There you go. See, I mean, just looking in the chat, people are already saying, their grandmother, it's terrible.
Yeah. Y'all are going to laugh because we talked about my technical difficulties. I have my mouse from my desktop. It's sitting right here on my desk, and I keep trying to move my mouse with it, but I'm on my laptop.
It's okay. See, if you wouldn't have told us, we'd have never known.
I know, but I had to share.
This is true.
If you kept seeing me reach over here, maybe someone would have caught on.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah. So this year, though, I want to say, has it always been a managed team, and this is the first year that you're offering best ball?
No, this is the second. So last year was our first year to do best ball. So
okay, I think I might have done that last year then.
Yeah, if I remember right, you were in best ball. And that was again, same kind of thought process with the lowering the minimum to $1 was, I was trying to get more people in. Like, I had a ton of people over the last 5 years say, man, I would love to play, but I'm in too many leagues. Is there any best ball option? And I was admittedly stubborn for the first 4 years. I didn't want to. I wanted to keep it managed and traditional and whatnot. But one of my best friends in the fantasy football community is Jay Felicio, and he was like, "Dude, I love you, but I don't know if I could play." And I hope he'll probably get mad at me for sharing this, but he's like, "I don't know if I could play this
No, he
year.
won't.
Is there any way we can do best ball?" And I was like, you've been asking me for years. Other people have been asking me for years. I think I'm going to do it and just try and have half the field be managed and half be best ball. And so that's what I did last year. And we got to, I think we did 18 leagues of 12 teams, and 10 of those were managed and 8 were best ball. So
is it hard juggling those two different?
No,
I was
because
about to say, when you combine them in the tournament, it's like one person's like, well, I haven't had to set a lineup all year, so screw that. And the other person's like, shit, am I going to like set the right lineup? Like, does it just kind of combine into best ball at a certain point? Or
in the playoffs, essentially it becomes best ball.
Okay.
And that was my concern with doing it 50-50. Luckily I have a good friendly nerd named Seth Keller who is really good with spreadsheets, and he helps kind of track the playoffs and the regular season and things like that on his spreadsheets. And so that was one thing that I need to look at him from last year specifically is like, hey, how many of like the top 10 teams were just the best ball teams, or how many of the managed league teams actually cracked the top 10 in the regular season and then in the postseason ultimately. So I can't remember what I did for the playoffs last year. I feel like I went just straight best ball once we hit the playoffs last year, since it was the first time having best ball and managed.
So one of the unique things that you have in your tournament is you allow trades.
Yes.
So do you allow trades in the best ball and the managed, both?
Now you're asking me a question I don't remember the answer to, Wendi.
Come on, Shane, you got to stay on top of your rules, man.
Yeah. Well, that's why I've got the rules document
kind of
open.
Different.
What did I do with trades last year in best ball? I don't remember. Hold on,
see, because like in Battle of the Sexes, we're going to do one mid-season waiver, but no trades, because it's got to be hard to police all that. You worry about any kind of collusion or anything like that.
Well, so what I try to be fairly active within the different leagues and constantly check those. So I'm always checking to see trades that go through. I feel like last year I didn't allow trades in best ball.
Okay, I think Scott agrees with you there.
I think I limited transactions in best ball just because that was kind of the point, was like, let the people come in, join the tournament, draft it, set it, and forget it.
Right.
So Fantasy Dog, they're in my Google Docs, they're in my Google Drive. I have them open right here actually. But I did not specify in the rules document, so I'm gonna have to do that this year.
We are here to help, Shane. We're all together. We're a team.
Well, and honestly, like that's kind of I did a postseason survey a couple years ago, and because there are things that like continually pop up, and I'm like, oh, I need to add that to the document or the rules, so that way if someone asks, I can be like, hey, it's in the rules document. So it's kind of a living, breathing document, and I try to keep it updated as best I can.
Only love.
You're on the clock, Shane.
Yes.
Man, QBs really are going scarce in this, man. You nuked the hell out of them, and then you're the only one
I've taken
one
two.
of two that's taken two so far.
Well, Dame went with back-to-back there.
Yeah, Hurts and Burrow, yeah.
Oh, no, I'm not going to take him yet.
So
I think I've drafted Terry McLaurin in multiple years, and then
Does the holdout scare you at all?
No.
Okay.
No.
I just feel like these contract disputes, losing time in camps and OTAs and stuff, like
I feel like he
bite you in this season.
He had a good enough connection with Daniels last year. I'm not too worried about it, but again, it's a mock, so right now I don't care.
Fair enough.
That's how you learn. That's how you learn.
So
fair enough.
And that's kind of what we're here for, is to, I mean, I know I'm playing in the tournament, so I'm so glad I'm not drafting, because I cannot comprehend all of this and draft at the same time. So thank you guys for taking care of that, and all of our drafters in the chat there. But so do any like, what do you feel about these first 4 rounds? Is there any favorite picks that stand out so far for you, Shane? And really, Josh, too, you could start looking because you don't pick till the end, hon.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I look at the tight ends so far, like the way that the scoring is set up, like no premium. Like I get the, the positional advantage kind of thing, but I just don't really feel like there's
Josh, I love your team, actually.
Uh-oh.
I love your team.
You told me running backs got nuked. Quarterbacks are getting negative points for everything. Fuck it. We ball with wide receivers, man.
I see that.
I love your team.
I'm pulling the Joel Worst special right here for all my club fantasy people.
I absolutely love that. That is awesome.
Oh, man.
All right. Oh, this may be a bit of a reach, but we'll see what happens.
Oh, I love Metcalf this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have him as a top 15 guy. I think you fit the downfield threat of an Arthur Smith offense with what DK does really well. And now he's got a quarterback.
You have a quarterback that can actually throw the ball.
Well, can throw the ball, but also is not afraid to hyper target a top wide receiver. Like, we've seen it year over year. The question is going to be, can Metcalf handle a consistently high volume? Because we really haven't seen that aspect of it. And he's never been a guy that has an overly high catch percentage, but he's a consistent over 15 yards per reception guy. He scores a ton of touchdowns. Like,
so that's
he's
where
set up to do well in this offense.
Honestly, like, being truth, like, that's an area within my own tournament where I'm like, I feel like I've struggled because I've like kind of hyper targeted players with deeper ADOTs, and I feel like it's bit me in the butt more times than it has. Like, and it, of course, like, I draft Hollywood Brown and he gets hurt, or I draft McLaurin and he gets hurt, or he's got horrible quarterback play. And so I think the people who've probably had more success in the tournament have found that balance of guys who get the volume at wide receiver position, but also still have the ability to break off those 30, 40, 50, 60-yard touchdowns.
Well, I was going to say, and you also have all those bonus points for, 40 plus, 50 plus touchdowns. Like, that is the Arthur Smith offense. Like, that is what DK is going to do in this offense. So, like, he's a great, that's a 5th round steal in this type of format.
Yeah.
So what's he going to do here? What are you going to do, Josh?
Exactly what I'm going to do. Give me another wide receiver, baby.
Another wide receiver. That's incredible.
Wide receiver for days. And Scott's liking that.
Yeah, I like that too.
So real quick, we're all about celebrating women in sports. That goes for women-owned businesses as well. So do us all a favor and go check out www.thegridirongoddess.com. Susan does a lot of great work and a lot of great things to help women kickstart their love of fantasy football. And she even has a shop too. She has t-shirts, hats, koozies, trophies. So be sure to check out thegridirongoddess.com and use promo code WOFF at checkout to save yourself 15% off your order. That's promo code WOFF at thegridirongoddess.com to save 15% off. Make sure you go look at Susan's stuff. She's awesome.
And Susan is also doing tournament shirts for the new WOFF tournament, the Gods and Goddesses of Fantasy Football. So those should be available on her website this week. A portion of the profits of those shirts will go towards our Women of Fantasy Football Galvanized Scholarship Fund.
You're on the clock, Josh.
Yep.
Does he take another wide receiver?
I don't know. I'm going to do a drum roll. And he does.
Oh my gosh. I love that pick too.
Well, I was going to take Devonta Smith, and then Duarte took him, and I was like, well, fuck it. I guess I got to take a Cowboy. So
you're saying Duarte sniped you is what you're saying.
He really did. Duarte knows me. He does.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
That's why I made sure and invite him.
All right.
And so is there going to be merch and stuff available for Polly's Playoff? You guys have shirts?
We don't at the moment. We've done a shop before with merch. I don't know if we have that up and running. That's usually my wife's deal. So if we do, I will announce it on Twitter and in our Discord.
And there's a lot of great people that help with stuff like that. Trust us. We know we have Brittany Fox where she did all of our graphics for the thumbnail stuff today. And I was telling Josh, I'm like, oh man, that is so cool. And I send him a picture. He's like, I didn't do that. Britt did. So I made sure to thank her. So thank you again, Britt. She's killing it. And she's making the Abbeys for the Scott Fish Bowl too. And I didn't get mine yet. I mean, I did it a long time ago. Like I filled everything out. And I know they're busy, but I was just like, hey girl, since you did this, and so she looked and she's like, you know what? I just claimed it for you. So she's going to do mine.
Nice.
I'm super excited. I know, right?
Yeah, Brittany's been crushing these graphics for us. Big shout out to her. I reached out one day and I was like, hey, I want to refresh some of the WOFF graphics. She's like, yeah, I can do this. She sent me a whole bunch of samples. I'm like, oh, you're up for doing like thumbnails and stuff too? Okay.
Yeah, that's what this community is about, and that's kind of like we're all here to help each other, and this love of fantasy football can do so much good. So make sure you reach out. Oh yeah, that's right. Karen lives right by Brittany. They get to go have coffee and wine and whatever they want to do.
Ooh.
I'm so jealous.
I have like Shane, 3 people I'm deciding between right here, but I think I'm going with someone who I think will have a bounce back year this year and fits the wide receiver profile that we're looking for.
I like it.
So I like Jalen Waddle. Always kind of have.
He disappointed me so much, and I'm a Dolphins fan. Okay,
yeah.
I'm a Dolphins fan, so that's my first and foremost is the Dolphins. And he just, it was sad. Yeah. It was a sad year.
I mean, it was a bad year for really everybody not named Devon Achane and Jonnu Smith last year, honestly.
Yeah.
So I think that offense bounces back this year. I think they really took it to heart when the general public called them soft. They added some beef during the draft. That defense is really not looking good. So that should tell you right there that the offense is going to be on the field as long as they can possibly be on the field. I think Tyreek has a nice bounce back. I think Waddle bounces back as well. I have Devon Achane as my RB2 overall this season. I think he's going to absolutely ball this season. Considering, they really got him involved in the passing game last year. Mm-hmm. And I think that, him being as efficient as he is with the football in his hands and the fact that he scored over 20 touchdowns in his first 2 years, that's a guy you want the football.
Yeah.
You want to give the football to. So
I was worried about Tyreek, and he's not going anywhere. He is so active on Snapchat, and he's like doing all these sprints, and he's funny, man. He's active with his kid on Snapchat, so I follow him. It's really funny, but he looks like he's in great shape and like he's real positive and stuff. So I'm hoping that's gonna. I drafted him. He was my first pick last year in the Queen's Classic. I still did okay, because I drafted a decent team, but just because I'm a Dolphins fan, it was a disappointment last year.
So
down year, but
Watt again took who I was contemplating at the Waddle pick with Olave. Yeah. Olave feels like that perfect wide receiver for this format. But I don't trust his quarterback this year because it's.
Well, I mean, it's hard to trust the health. I mean, he everybody wants to talk about Tua's concussions, but very few people talk about the amount of concussions that Chris Olave has had. I don't really trust Tyler Shugg either, but I mean, who knows?
And maybe he works out. The top 4 tight ends. That's it. That's all that's off the board right now are those top.
Well, I mean, and I'm telling you, this format really does not reward tight ends at all. Like it just makes more sense to take value and just kind of wait. So
Yep. So I took my first
that's
running
kind of
back.
what I was talking about. Like, I don't know that there's really advantage at the tight end position in this kind of format. So I understand the Bowers and McBride picks, but I don't know that they're.
I honestly think
in this
Bowers is the only one that I'd probably consider in the first 2 rounds.
Really?
I'm sorry, Dame. She needs to have somebody live closer.
Well, she's in California. There's so many fantasy people in California.
Yeah, and you know what? She's also getting ready to go draft at the Scott Fishbowl Vegas draft. So
that'll be fun.
Yep. She's packing.
Yeah. She's out there with Sam and Kendall and Maddie.
Yep. Here you go. Andrea has a good question. Let's see, Josh, you're going to be coming up drafting. So what do you think, Shane, about Zay Flowers and Chris Godwin this year?
I've always had I won't call it a soft spot, but I've always liked Zay Flowers. It's kind of like, is he the number 1? Is he the number 2 option in that offense? And really he's number 2 because Lamar is always option number 1. But I like him. I considered him at where I took Waddle, and probably could have taken him where I took Caleb Johnson, but I like Flowers plenty. And then Chris Godwin. So I won't call it my claim to fame, but one of my favorite moments and kind of like my start as a fantasy football analyst, if you will, was I guested on the Fantasy Football Astronauts. And every episode they would do a trivia game. And the question was, Michael Thomas was the number 1 wide receiver. Who was the number 2 wide receiver? Or how far off was the number 2 wide receiver from him that year? And I swear to God, I totally guessed and said 97. And both of the hosts looked at me like, what in the world did you just say? And I said 97. And they looked at me and were like, you just got that spot on. It was 100% correct. And it was the reason that I ended up winning trivia. And I was like one of like 4 people at the time that had beaten the host. So, and the reason I bring that up is Chris Godwin was the wide receiver 2 that year.
I figured something
I
to do with Chris Godwin.
also like Chris Godwin. I just want him to get healthy because him and that Bucs offense, he's a huge piece of it. Like last year, he was he was number 2 in the league, I think, in targets per game and points per game at one point in the season before he got hurt. And then he got hurt. And Baker kept balling because that's what Baker does. But
yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how Godwin bounces back from the ankle injury. But I mean, sure, there's increased competition, but as long as Godwin's healthy, as long as Mike Evans are healthy, they're going to be the top 2 options in that passing attack. And Baker's never been shy about throwing the football, so that's a good thing. It definitely bumps up their value quite a bit. It's just going to boil down to touchdowns. Right.
Yeah.
I'll answer your question right here because I get why people are down on Zay. And it's a lot of the reason why I'm down on Zay from a fantasy perspective. From a real life NFL perspective, I love Zay Flowers. That guy has a human joystick. He reminds me so much of Dante Hall back from the Chiefs days. Like he's so much fun to watch, but he's the wide receiver 1 in an offense that would prefer to run the football. So he doesn't always see a large amount of target volume. That's the first problem. The second, they're going to score twice as many rushing touchdowns than anything. Like I know Lamar's threw 40 touchdowns last year. That's going to regress. Even the year that he threw 36, he came back down into the 20s. Maybe he still stays above 30 passing touchdowns. Maybe he doesn't. But he targets the tight ends in the red zone. He doesn't target Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers doesn't always have those high touchdown values because he's only 5'9".
And he likes to fumble in the red zone.
Well, there's that. Yeah, if you can't hang on to the football, you're not going to get targeted. So
you also have Andrews and Likely that are also going to be getting these targets.
Correct. And then, of course, you have, Derrick Henry, who's going to rush for 20 touchdowns. So
Right. And I love him.
there's just so many roadblocks for Zay Flowers that make him so much more fun to watch as an NFL player than a fantasy player. He is the epitome of consistency. You're going to draft him around wide receiver 20 to 25. He's going to finish between wide receiver 20 and 25. Like, there's not really any real upside to where you get him.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why, people don't really look at him much on draft day. But at a certain point, even wide receiver 20, 25 finish becomes a value because people just keep passing on.
Mm-hmm.
I see Dame there. She got those 2 top-tier quarterbacks, and I love Josh Jacobs this year. And then she loaded up on her wide receivers.
Taking a cue from me, huh? Yeah.
Oh, and she did say, Josh, around the corner, California is very large.
Look, around the corner could be 2 miles and take you 45 minutes to get there. So trust me,
That's like Vegas.
My brother lives in LA.
It's like Vegas. When they say that something is a block away in Vegas, it's like a mile and it's forever.
Well, that's only if you're on the strip. Everywhere else, you can get through Vegas pretty well. So,
Diane, thank you,
Mr.
Ann.
Scampers.
She's going. She's going to take down Polly's playoff. Thank you.
Come
Ann.
on, let's do it, Ann. Mr. Scampers. DM me. I can help you out with a list of players. Hopefully, I'm not a Devy expert by any means, but I do follow college football pretty heavily. So shoot me a DM and I can help you out.
Look at that networking too. How about that?
There you go.
Speaking of networking, and we're about halfway through the draft, or a little over halfway. Do y'all want to do the announcement now?
Yes, absolutely. Everyone,
right.
Shane has a big announcement.
Cool. So tomorrow is June 20th. It is the longest day of the year. And because of what is called sundown syndrome, it's a very important day in the Alzheimer's community. There's tons of fundraisers going on. We actually have a separate one outside of Polly's Playoff that's on my wife and mine Facebook page. But because of that, what I'm going to do is anyone that signs up and donates tomorrow will be entered into a drawing for a PLP from Going for Two. A PLP is a personal league podcast where Jeff Lambert, typically myself, and 1 to 2 other analysts will go through and rank your league based on how we would like to take it over. So team that has old players and little draft capital in Dynasty is usually ranked around 10. And then the team that has young players and tons of draft capital and tons of potential is usually ranked towards the top, just to kind of give a broad example. So if you sign up and donate tomorrow, you'll be entered into a drawing to win one of those for free sometime in the month of August. I think we were leaning towards August 22nd to have one of those done for your league. If you have already signed up and you get a friend to sign up, shoot me a screenshot of their sign up, and I will include you in the contest as well.
All right. Very, very nice. All right. Oh, and thank you, Scott. I am very happy to see that, by the way. I live in Indiana, so I'm recording it. I want to go watch it later. So
wait. Wendy, you live in Indiana, but you're a Dolphins fan.
Yes. Dan Marino. Marino. That's all that needs to be said.
Makes sense.
1984, honey. 1984. You know what, though? I do follow the Bears just because I live like an hour from Chicago. Like, I can beat a Soldier Field in an hour. So I went to like 4 games last year, and I love it there. So the big hot ticket this year is getting Dallas Cowboys tickets. They're so expensive. Okay, like you can live with 1 kidney, right? Right?
You can.
Okay. I'm just asking. Do you know what a kidney's worth by any chance?
No, I don't know that.
I might be looking into that because that might be the only way that I'm going.
That's funny.
Yeah. So that's the hot ticket this year. So I really want to go, but we'll see. So, hey, I do want to, can we kind of remind Josh, everybody, can we kind of talk about the WOFF leagues this year and how signups are open for that and the details on the Twitter page, all
We
that?
can.
Let's do that. Yes.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah. So, as announced last weekend, we are going to be switching up the Women of Fantasy Football leagues from years past. We're going to do a tournament this year. It's going to be called the Gods and Goddesses of Fantasy Football. We wanted to do something that was a little bit more interactive and have a little fun, introduce people to, more analysts and allow them to actually play against them and talk to them and chat with them and smack talk and all these kinds of things. So we partnered with 12 different analysts, and we've already announced 6. The other 6 are going to be announced on Friday morning. So if you are not following Women of Fantasy Football on Twitter or Instagram, you should do that. It's at women_of_FF. The first 6 that we announced, let me see if I remember so I don't accidentally spoil the other ones. Lindsay Rhodes, Jen Piacenti, Kendall Valenzuela, who was our guest on last week's show, and then Bob Harris, Andy Behrens, and good friend of mine, Mr. Howard Bender. Absolutely love him.
Big names.
Those are the first 6 gods and goddesses that we're going to be introducing, or that we have introduced. And then, like I said, Friday, tomorrow morning, we're going to introduce the following 6. So if you have not already, you can go to our website. It's womenoffantasyfootball.com, and you can sign up. There's a Google form that you can fill out. There's a link on there. Or, of course, hit us up on Twitter. The link is there as well. We've been sharing the posts and talking about it, trying to get as many signups as we can. We are planning to introduce the scoring as well in the next coming week. Faith likes a lot of scoring because that's just the kind of person she is. So I'm throwing all kinds of things in there that make scoring go, woo, hi, big.
You got to make Faith happy.
Got to make Faith happy, So
she earned that. She does a lot for all of us. So absolutely make Faith happy.
Yeah, right. So, it's going to be a lot of fun. Really excited. We're, obviously we'll do quote buy-ins that are really just donations. All of those are going to go towards our Women of Fantasy Football Galvanized Scholarship, which if you followed Women of Fantasy Football for any period of time, you know about our partnership with Galvanize. That is the organization that is run by Laura Oakman. She's now a former sideline reporter for Fox Sports.
That, yes.
If anybody caught the news yesterday, she decided not to renew her contract with Fox so that she could focus on the growth of Galvanize and supporting women that want to further their careers in the sports media space. So we're going to be taking the donations for the tournament for that cause. And then, as I mentioned earlier, through our partnership with Susan and the Gridiron Goddess, we're going to be selling some t-shirts as well, where the profits for that portion of those will also go towards the scholarship fund. And then we're going to do some fun stuff during the season as well. It is a best ball tournament. We're going to have, yep, I know. It is a best ball tournament. We're going to have weekly waivers just to kind of keep the interaction going throughout the season. So that way it's not just like a, set it and forget it. Cause I don't like it when, tournaments kind of feel like quote cash grabs in a way. Like I want people to kind of have fun. And that was kind of the thing that I was starting to feel with the way that we've been doing the tournament in the past. And I wanted to not be that. Like the whole purpose of Women of Fantasy Football is to highlight, female analysts in the fantasy football space, but also in the world of sports, and create a community where, people can talk and get to know and enjoy getting to play with women and realize that, hey, you know what? Women know about football too. So it's kind of what we wanted to focus on this year, is get back to basics.
Awesome. Yep. That is so great. Oh, and Scott wants to know, can tell everybody where to go for this?
Yeah, so on the website, womenoffantasyfootball.com, it should be as simple as clicking on one of the graphics. Let me double check. Hang on a second.
While you're checking, holy tight end run, Batman.
I see that too.
Andrews, a little break, and then Njoku, Jonnu, Tucker Craft, likely, and then circle back around and Kyle Pitts win. I know that the tight ends are not overly important in this tournament. I designed it that way on purpose. Kyle Pitts in the 11th, is that right? I can't see on the screen. I should just look it up here.
12th.
Either way, like that makes it even more awesome. Like I would take Kyle Pitts in the 12th. Like that's an awesome pick.
I have not given up hope. Every year I draft Kyle Pitts every year, so we'll see how that goes.
I'm on the clock now.
All right. Well, apparently our website got delinked, so I need to go fix that after this stream.
Okay.
But if you go to clubfantasyffl.com, across the top you'll see WOFF, WOFF. Just click on that, and you can sign up on there.
And then we were also going to put the link for the Polly's playoff signups in the chat.
That's
Josh.
in the description. Yes, that is in the description.
Okay. I can drop it in the chat.
Yeah, that would be great. Awesome.
Give me just a second.
I just want to mention that I see that Dame took David Njoku. Okay.
Right.
I feel like that's something we have to call out every show.
Every time, because we all know, and we have it on good authority, that the man smells good. So, all right, let's see. I mean, we only get to do, 15 rounds. I understand that. But, I'm kind of wondering, I love Matthew Golden. And I don't know if that's just because I follow him and he's so much fun. But what a great kid. I'm really hoping that he does well. How do you guys feel about him? Rookie.
I am mad at Brian Gutekunst for taking 6 years to draft a first round wide receiver. But outside of that, I love it.
All right.
I just feel like you took the wrong one.
Yeah.
Really? Shane, you're on the clock.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to.
Wendi, scroll up on the draft board so we can see the.
Oh, goodness. Is that right? Did that work?
There you go. Perfect.
Okay.
I'm just going to go with a straight up homer pick right here.
Jarquez Hunter. Okay.
So you are into college football, huh, Shane?
Yes.
Man, I just, it's like it's a lot going on, but after going, I was fortunate enough to get to go to the combine the last 2 years because I live in Indiana and it's in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
And WOFF was kind enough to send me, and I'll tell you what, those kids, it's a lot of fun and they take their stuff seriously. And you have standouts, you have the people that stand out. Ashton Gianti, it broke my heart when the Bears did not take him. I mean, I cried for days.
It's the Raiders' fault. They took him first.
I know. Yeah, but the Bears could have traded for him or something. Dang it. But it's making me want to get into college because you kind of do need to know a little bit about college if you're trying to draft any of these rookies.
Yeah.
But in best ball, it's probably, kind of winging a prayer anyways at that point, but you never know.
Yeah.
I mean, all the rookies, especially when you're getting into redraft season, it's always just trying to figure out who is going to be set up to actually succeed. Because, the moment the draft happens, it's real easy to get really hyped for a lot of these guys, especially your first round rookies, right? And even to a degree, some of your second round, especially the second round running backs. Because then we're all on dynasty brain, right? And it's that first, second, third rounds of those rookie drafts. And then when you start trying to shift gears into redraft, and you're like, oh man, I really like this person for dynasty, but crap, are they even going to see the field at all in year one? Like, you start, trying to find the third, fourth round sleepers in your rookie drafts, and you're like, these guys aren't even being drafted in my, in my home league, right? So Yeah, it's a really interesting kind of flip on your head kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, there's a small handful of rookies that I think will be really impactful. We know Travis Hunter's going to have a role. We know Ashton Genty's going to have a role. We know Tetaroa McMillan's going to have a role. The running backs that I mentioned, the second round guys, Judkins, Travion Henderson,
Caleb
Johnson in the third round. I'm not even convinced that Amarian Hampton has as big of a role as people want him to have.
Man, I'm so glad you said it. People hate on Najee Harris, and I get it. It's not pretty. It's not necessarily efficient, but he also, for like the first 2 years of his career, had me playing offensive line for him basically. And it was bad. And he had noodle arm Ben Roethlisberger, and then he had Kenny Small Hands Pickett, and then he had Justin Fields and Russ. Like, I think people are going to be disappointed with how big of a role that Najee has because they love Omarion Hampton. Now, long term, I think Omarion's great, but like you're saying, for 100%. Redraft purposes, like, I don't know how much of a role he's going to have this year. If he does get a big role, I think it will be second half of the season.
But even then, like when you say big role, like what 60% rush share, because we know that offense isn't throwing to running backs.
Yeah.
So like, and this is my whole thing is like when I'm going through and I'm looking at these best ball drafts where he's a top 15 RB, I'm like, what world are we smoking? Do you guys legitimately think he's going to have 1,200 yards and 13 touchdowns? Because that's the only way this happens. Because he's not going to catch more than 25 passes.
Yeah.
The Greg Roman offense is consistently in the bottom 5 in pass attempts to the running back position. So he has to score double-digit touchdowns. He has to rush for well over 1,100 yards to get to that level. And I just don't see it when you have Najee Harris there.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to take a third quarterback. This stack with my wide receiver from earlier. Awesome. Thank you, Scott. Scott, I need you to take a screenshot of that picture of that comment, though, and remember that. Because you sign up multiple times every year.
He's so nice. He just wants to keep donating. Good guy.
Well, I don't. He's so nice. I love
Was this one right, Josh?
That's the hyperlink for the WOFF sign up. Yeah. So hopefully you can copy it, paste it, whatever you need to. But I'll get the website stuff figured out.
All right. And Wild Rosie would like to know.
I don't even know who that is. That's Mr.
Oh
Scampers.
My gosh, I love Mr. Scampers. I love it.
Hey, he had to take the value.
I love that.
The value would be the waiver wire paying you to pick him up, Scampers.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
So Shane, who is your team? Who is your team? Did we talk about that?
We did not. I am a Jaguars fan.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna let you pick and then we'll talk.
All right, sounds good. I'm just gonna cover my butt at tight end. Have a nice little backup and someone who I think has.
Oh well, there you go. And you just took.
And as a Jaguar, so there, great segue. I didn't even mean to do that. That's how good I am. Scott, thank you so much. I was just poking fun at you, but I really do love the support that you've given us every single year that we've done polys. It means a lot. So Jaguars, I've honestly probably always had a soft spot for them. But for the first 4 years that I was in the fantasy community, I got made fun of all the time because I had 3 favorite teams. It was the Cowboys, it was the Packers, and then it was usually whoever Baker Mayfield played for at the time. And so people eviscerated me for that. And I can explain it all, and I will real quick. So the Packers, my mom's entire side of the family is from Kenosha, Wisconsin. They're all cheeseheads. My dad was born in Dallas, and him and his dad are and were Cowboys fans. So I always kind of had a soft spot for them. And then Baker, like, we're around the same age. We're both girl dads. Like, and his senior year of college, like, I just kind of fell in love with him. Like, I loved the chip on the shoulder that he played with. So once he got drafted, like, I started following him his senior year and followed him since then. So then circle back to 2 years ago. I was tired of being made fun of for having 3 favorite teams. And I kind of just wanted to pick my own team. I was like, I'm going to pick my team, and that's who I'm going to cheer for from now on. I liked Trevor Lawrence a lot coming out of college, especially because he beat Alabama in the national championship. That's always going to have a soft spot for me. I liked Travis Etienne. I joke that one of the worst birthday presents I ever received was Travis Etienne saying he was going back to school on the early declare day back in, I think that was 2020, actually. And then there were just other players on the Jaguars that I'd always liked. So I was like, I'm going to pick them. I like the underdog too. And then they drafted Tank Bigsby out of Auburn. Auburn's my favorite college football team, hence the Alabama comment. And so I was like, all right, that kind of seals it for me. I'm going to go with the Jaguars. And so since then I've been a Jags fan and kind of dive into it.
All right. So let's take a look at this draft. We are done. It is set. So any teams? Thank you so much, Scott.
There we go.
And here you go. Anybody's team stand out? What do we think? And what do you think, Shane? This is your tournament, so with your scoring, what are you thinking? Anybody's team stand out?
We already talked about Josh, so I'm not going to give him any more love. He doesn't deserve it. But right next to him, Duarte's team, bold decision to go running back at the 112 and 2-1, but then the wide receivers that you followed up with, I feel like fit really well. Khalil Shakir in the 10th round is incredible.
That's a steal.
He's the wide receiver one on that team. Like,
yeah, that's a good volume play, especially when you're putting him with kind of bigger play guys like your Higgins, your Worthy, even Devonta Smith for everything that he does. Like, he creates a lot of big plays in that Philly offense.
Yeah. Mr. Scampers only took one quarterback, but loaded up on wide receiver.
He's got some pretty good ones too.
Yeah,
a lot that we talked about,
and Trey McBride in there. I like that team a lot too. Like, even though you've only got the one quarterback, but like, hold on, let's Cam Ward, Sam Darnold. Like, Anthony Richardson is still out there. He didn't get drafted.
Are we surprised by that?
Oh, what is up with that?
I'm sorry. Like, seriously, like at this point, people should be taking Daniel Jones over him. Like, Anthony Richardson he's cooked.
Wow.
He's done.
Is it him? Is he doesn't know how? All of a sudden, did he wake up and he doesn't know how to play football anymore? I mean, what is going on?
I mean, you can make an argument that he never truly knew how to play football at the pro level.
He can't stay healthy.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I don't.
Oops.
I've never been on the Anthony Richardson train. I really haven't.
I haven't either, to be honest. I think I personally think that the rushing upside of quarterbacks can sometimes get blown out of proportion in fantasy.
Thank you.
God. It drives me nuts. Like, perfect example. Like, Josh Allen has consistently been QB1 in fantasy, and it is because of that rushing upside. But like,
he's got a cannon for an arm.
I got Patrick Mahomes in the second round, and I know he's had a couple of down years in a row, but Rashee Rice is going to be healthy. They've got Xavier Worthy. And I think this year they're going to have more of a chip on their shoulder than
Mahomes
they have.
Is bouncing back big time this year.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be last year, honestly.
On the Tom Brady style revenge tour. That's what he's doing.
I thought it was going to be last year, honestly, but then Rashee got hurt. So, this year, if they stay healthy, the Chiefs.
The difference is it's not even the receiving options. The difference is he has a starting left tackle now.
Yeah.
Josh Simmons is going to be the biggest piece, the biggest missing piece to that offense.
Yeah.
The piece of the puzzle
fell in their lap.
Yep.
Fell in their lap in the draft. I just
all right. God, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for joining us, Shane.
Yeah, of course.
My goodness.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so you know what? Let's tell everybody. Thank you again to everyone in the chat. Everybody that comes here every week. We appreciate you all so much. We wouldn't be here, if it weren't for you coming here every single week. So, but Shane, can you tell everybody where they can find you in case they also need help signing up for Polly's Playoff?
Yes, absolutely. So you can find me on Twitter at FFShaneB. You can also find the tournament account at Polly's Playoff. I don't have a Blue Sky account because I can't manage that many social media accounts. So you can reach out to me there. We do have a Discord also for Polly's Playoff. I'd like to shift most of the communication to there, but I know a lot of people still rely on Twitter for some of that. So there, I need to pin it. I'm so glad you just reminded me of that. But I announced the signups yesterday for Polly's Playoff. It is officially open. We're going old school with the signups, and it's just a Google Forms link, and the rules document is in that tweet as well. I'm going to pin that to my account right now, and it is now pinned to Polly's Playoff on X. So.
Awesome. All right. And thank you, Josh, for being here tonight and every night that you're here for WOFF. So tell the people where they can find you, Josh.
Just make sure you're following Women of Fantasy Football. That's women_FF on Twitter and Instagram, and it's Women of FF on Blue Sky, if that's your preferred site. We're trying to post a little bit more over there because we do know there is a community over there. It's a slow process. I'm trying.
It is. It's tough. You know what? And I am one of the anti-discords. I admit it.
Wendi, I was the same way for so long. Jeff Lambert is shocked still to this day that I started a Discord for Polly's Playoff. But
Dynasty and Discord can both KMA. But listen, so this has been so much fun. This has been the latest episode of WOFF's Mock Girl Summer. We're live every Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time up to the start of the NFL season. We'll have a new mock draft every week, so be sure to follow us on Twitter to participate in these mock drafts. Next week, we'll have IDP Iggy on the show to mock draft for his tournament, the FF7. That one's really fun because there's IDP and it's like a lot of them.
Yeah.
And Sam likes the IDP, so Sam will be back next week. So make sure you all come back next week for another episode of Mock Girl Summer, y'all. Thank you, everybody. See you next week.
I could not leave my spot.